So Witchfire is a game that is an absolute blast to play, and if you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend. Now, it is in early access, which means that the content is very limited. If you're unaware, it is a extraction-based PvE shooter, kind of in the realm of a boomer shooter, with how fast-paced it is. Now, that all being said, it is in early access. There is very limited content, and I've been chopping at the heels to get more gameplay, but I'm starting to burn out on Witchfire, and so I thought it would be a cool deal to show some other options while we wait for the next update for Witchfire to drop. Now, what makes Witchfire different than other games, and what are we looking for is a good question to ask. So, there's not any games that are exactly like it. Trust me, I've looked. I can't find another Witchfire, which is why Witchfire is so great, because it's it's so unique. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't get our fix off of a similar style game. Now, Witchfire has really wacky guns with really cool abilities. It has a pretty interesting visual art style where it's like this kind of realistic, but also high fantasy. It has build variety, which is nice. It has a lot of freedom as far as that goes, being able to choose whatever spell, heavy spell, weapons combination, plus the demonic. And then they even introduced the Fallen Prayers, which give you small buffs, and so on and so forth, along with the roguelike aspects from the Arcana system. Now, there are games that we can find that are pretty similar as far as that goes, and there's one that hits the unique weapon, cool as hell art style, and interesting story aspects of that game, and that would be Father Forgive Me 2. Now, I've not gotten very far into this game, and it's time for me to make a video, so I'm gonna have to give you a very limited preview of what I've seen so far, and it is a blast. If you're looking for something totally different that's not gonna break the bank, that will kind of scratch at that Witchfire itch, Father Forgive Me is a great option, and I highly recommend you give it a try. The voice acting is unintentionally funny as hell. Like, just without any spoilers, your guy's voice sounds like John Wick in the first John Wick. He's like almost like cringy, edgy. I'm trying to be a badass. And then the voice inside your guy's head sounds like John Wick from John Wick 4, where he's very much just like, I need a gun. Like, it's edgy, but the acting is just not quite hitting the mark. Don't let that stop it though, because it's still extremely enjoyable. Just don't take the game too seriously. I don't even think it's meant to be taken all that seriously. But if you want to get in there for some fast-paced, blow 'em up type shit, then Father Forgive Me is the bee's knees. Now, our second and final option, as far as I'm concerned, or have experienced so far, and if you have other ideas, please leave them down in the comments, because I've been looking. Alright, now, this next game is a lot more similar to Witchfire, as far as it's kind of like an endurance test of you go through levels. It kind of reminds me of if Witchfire wasn't open world, if it was level based, where you just went from camp to camp and then you went to the boss at the end. It's like that. So in Witchfire you go through the camps. After you kill the camp you get a buff. In this game, you go through a arena, you kill all the enemies, you get a buff. You do that a few times, it'll send you to the boss arena. You kill the boss, you move to the next level. So it's kind of like if Witchfire, the camps were individual levels. The guns are wacky and have high customization. The abilities are dope as hell. There's multiple characters to choose from in DeadLink, so let me make sure. Let me make sure what it is. Yeah, it's DeadLink. My apologies. So DeadLink, you have 4 characters to choose from, each with their unique loadout and their abilities. So the customization from Witchfire isn't quite present in this, but it's still pretty. It feels pretty good. Now, the customization does come from the buffs. You have ability buffs, you have ability passives, you have just shell buffs, which are like your health, damage, skill power. You have weapon modifications that can change the element or how your weapon functions. And so on and so forth, and the game does get way harder as you go through the levels. So visually, it's kind of on the lower end of the spectrum. It's definitely an indie game and it looks the part, but that doesn't make it a bad game. It does run very well. I haven't had any frame rate drops at all. It doesn't make my computer chug, which my computer's not top of the line, but it shouldn't be chugging like some of these games try to make it. So I highly suggest you go check these 2 titles out, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And like I said before, if you have any suggestions on a badass game that feels or has some of the same aspects of Witchfire, please leave them down in the comments. So with all of that out of the way, have yourself a very fine day.